Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards under $1. I'm David.
I'm Stefan.
And today we're going to be looking at all the blue cards in Guilds of Ravnica.
I'm going to evaluate them for limited, like draft or sealed, like your upcoming pre-release, where you get 5 regular booster packs and 1 seeded booster. And these consist of cards of your chosen guild, which is Izzet, Golgari, Boros, Selesnya or Dimir.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be evaluating these cards according to our 3-tiered system. Our tier 1 cards means that these cards are, they're going to be winning us the game. So they're either our bombs or our unconditional removal. If we get a tier 1 card, it probably means we're playing that color. Tier 2 means this card is also very good. If we're already in that color, it's an auto include. And if we got a couple of these cards, it means that we're also probably going to be playing that color. Then finally we've got the tier 3 cards. These are our filler cards. Essentially these are okay cards. Don't feel bad about playing them, but essentially we're going to be using them to smooth out our mana curve and make sure that we fill those slots in our mana curve which we're still missing. Like if we're still missing a 2-drop, we're still missing a 4-drop, we can look at our filler cards and fill those slots up there, make sure we got enough creatures, etc. The rest of the cards are either bad cards or they're too situational, so we're not going to be including those in our deck. So without further ado, let's have a look at all the common cards first. The first of our blue cards is the Dazzling Lights. For a single blue, it's an instant. Target creature gets -3/-0 until the end of turn, and we're going to survey 2. Now, survey is a new mechanic, and essentially what it means is we're going to be looking at the top X cards. So in this case, survey 2 means we're going to be looking at the top 2 cards of our library, and then we can choose to either leave them there, change the order, or put them in our graveyard instead. So what's really nice about this is that we can make sure that we actually dig for what we want, and the stuff we don't want we'll put in our graveyard, and stuff going in our graveyard such as creatures or cards with a mechanic that we will have from Izzet later, which is Jumpstart. It's actually not even that bad to be putting cards in the graveyard. So
also with the Golgari mechanic, which we'll also look at later, also helps.
Exactly, with the creatures.
I really like this mechanic a lot better than putting on the bottom, because I always say
just
like
scry.
Yeah, I always say just the graveyard is an extension of your hand, which is really nice.
Yeah, so essentially we see this as a better mechanic than scry, which allows us to do the same thing, except instead of putting a graveyard, it goes to the bottom of our library. The only difference which could be seen as better in scry, is that when we scry something to the bottom of our library, our opponents doesn't know what we scried away, whereas if we put it in the graveyard, they know what we don't want, essentially. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about Dazzling Lights, and I think we should put that card aside because we're not a big fan of mechanics that only lower power, because we'd actually like to be able to kill stuff by lowering toughness. So we're going to put this card aside.
Yeah. Maximum Altitude is the next one. It's 1 blue, it's a sorcery. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying until end of turn. And we were talking about Jumpstart. You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to playing its other cost, and then exile this card. Which is of mechanic similar to what we've seen before, Flashback. Which means if it's in your graveyard, you can pay its mana cost, but as additional cost you have to discard a card. I'm not sure about how I really like the discarding a card cost, but for this card it doesn't matter because we're not going to play it. Just put it aside. I really like it as a combat trick, instant speed, surprise blocker, with flying, but you can't do this.
No, the sorcery means that this is essentially an unusable card.
Yeah,
put it aside.
Disdainful
Disdainful Stroke is next for 1 and a blue, so for 2 mana it's an instant. We're going to counter target spell with converted mana cost 4 or greater. Now, usually when it comes to sealed and limited, draft in a sense a little bit as well, we don't really like the counterspell mechanics, because what happens with counterspells is that unlike normal removal where you can just, people play something and then you get your mana and then you play something to destroy it or get rid of it, with counterspells what you need to do is you need to keep your mana open, which means in your turn you're not using your mana, in the hope that your opponent in their turn plays something which you can counter. But if they play something you don't want to waste your counterspell on, then you're like, okay, I'm not going to counter it, and then you essentially did nothing that turn. And that is kind of a dangerous situation to be in, because in Magic what you want to be doing, especially in these situations, is you want to be using your mana to the maximum effect, to its fullest effect, as efficiently as possible every single turn. And counterspells kind of make you not want to do that. However, this one we did put it in tier 3. Why? Because it's only 2 mana. Most counterspells are 3 or 4 mana, and that is the kind of amount that you really want to be doing something else. But with 2 mana, I can still see us holding that open, and the fact that it counters what kind of stuff? A converted mana cost 4 or greater, which is going to be the bombs and the unconditional removal. So yes, I do see a role for this card as a kind of removal spell.
Yeah. The converted mana cost 4 or greater is not really a downside, which is the downside that makes it cheaper, which is perfect for us.
Absolutely.
Wall of Mist, 1 in a blue. It's a 0/5 wall with defender. Don't play it, put it aside.
Yeah, the reason why defender cards are so bad is because essentially they don't, well, not necessarily defender, why creatures with a power 0 are so bad is because they don't stop our opponents from attacking with their smaller stuff. Essentially, even if you just have a 1/3 creature, it's already dissuading people from attacking with their 1 toughness creatures, with their 1/1s, so you can stop a lot of stuff. I think maybe they can only attack with 1 creature, but now, if you've got a 0/5, yes, you can say I can block that 3/3, but the problem is they can still attack with their entire rest of their army, and they don't have to fear losing any of their smaller creatures, such as those 1/1 life linking tokens.
Which means there's no downside of attacking at all for them.
No, so don't play it. Next up, Passwall Adept for 1 in a blue. So for 2 mana, it is a 1/3 human wizard. Speaking of 1/3s, which are solid, and it has an ability which is for 2 in a blue. So for 3 mana, target creature can't be blocked this turn. This is tier 2. First of all, the body, power and toughness is great for 2 mana. We love our 1/3s coming in turn 2. It stops their 2/2s, but we could still attack with it later if they don't have anything. Additionally, the ability is also super relevant later on in the game, making our bombs unblockable for only 3 mana, making multiple bombs unblockable for 6 mana. It's absolutely insane. Tier 2, always play it if you're in blue.
Giving the ability to give something unblockable is just insane. And 2 mana 1/3 is already good enough.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm really happy with this card. Unexplained Disappearance. 1 in a blue, instant, return target creature to its owner's hand. I'm not sad about this. It's really pretty decent. The tempo for 2 mana, you can bounce some big creature someone played, and then they have to spend the whole turn again to recast it, and it can still attack. So that's nice. But it's also Survey 1, which is just extra bonus, and I really like my extra bonus.
Yeah. What's unfortunate is, of course, with these bounce mechanics is that it's not really hard removal because they do get it back to the hand. They can recast it. So essentially, yes, you'd much rather have either destroy or exile effects or even just can't attack or block effects. But in a pinch, yes, this does count as removal because, as Stefan already said, they lose so much time in play it, turn passes, attack, then it gets bounced. Then they might not be able to play it again. They got to wait till next turn. Then they got to wait again before they can attack. The tempo swing is pretty big, and I think the Survey 1 also kind of pushes it kind of over the head. Makes me want to play that. Just nice. Vidalcan Mesmerist is next for 1 and a blue. So for 2 mana, it's a 2/1 Vidalcan Wizard. And when it attacks, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until the end of turn. Now, already a 2/1 for 2 is okay. We'd rather just have a 2/2, obviously, because this one will die to 1 power creatures, even just 1/1s. But it's really nice that when it attacks, it's going to be able to lower the power of something, and that's going to make it much harder for this thing to die. And especially if you're attacking with multiple creatures, you can use this thing to protect something else, and then your bigger stuff can't die, and then if you choose to kill this thing instead, so your big thing survives. There's a lot of interesting combat things, not combat mechanics, but things that you can do to combat math, exactly, that you can do to make sure that you're at an advantage. So I really like this card, but still just filler.
Yeah. Radical idea. 1 in a blue, instant, draw a card. For 2 mana, draw a card. I don't really like it that much, but as an instant speed, 2 mana maybe. But what really pushed me over the edge for as a tier 3 card is that it has Jumpstart. Which means later in the game, any card you draw, you can turn that for 2 mana into something else. And I really like this idea, that you draw 2 cards with this card early game and late game, and even 2 cards late game.
So do you like this idea then?
It's radical.
Way too radical, yeah. Stefan sees this more as kind of like a cycle card that cycles itself. It's kind of just a cycler, I guess.
Yeah. Well, then you have to explain what cycling means.
Stefan, go ahead.
discarding a card to draw a card.
There you go. So I usually like my just hard draw cards, but this one is so cheap and instant speed, and the fact that you can turn that land later on in the game that you drew into another card. I think it's actually also convinced me that it does have a place, especially if the rest of your cards are not too solid. Then this one actually has a much stronger place in your deck to just make sure that you can dig through your crap so you can get to the good stuff.
Yeah. Because we will have to find cards to use as a filler, and I think this is a good replacement for any like small creature or something like that to just get your through your deck faster.
Yeah. And as we said already before in other videos, limited decks are not going to be super efficient. They're not going to be super good. You're going to have a lot of chaff in there. You're going to have a lot of filler. So a deck is going to be better if it can actually dig through its bombs and its unconditional removal. Dig 4. That's why also Survey is such a strong mechanic, because you're also digging. Okay, I don't need this. Put it to the graveyard. I don't need it. Just get through that. Leapfrog is up next for 2 and a blue. So for 3 mana, it is a 3/1 frog, and it has flying as long as you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. Now we cannot really expect to be able to play that many. Yes, a lot of our instants or sorceries are going to be removal, but you're still going to be heavier on creatures, so you can't really definitely not reliably play an instant sorcery every single turn. So essentially, this is just a 3/1 walkie guy, which I would be fine with for 2 mana. For 3. I think it's just too steep for that, so I'll put it aside.
Yeah, I think there are better cards. Even though it's the 3 power, I think at the 3 mana slot there are just so many better cards. Dimir Informant for 3 mana, 2 and a blue, a 1/4 human rogue, and that's pretty decent because the 4 toughness blocks a lot, and we've seen so many 1 toughness things. And when Dimir Informant enters the battlefield, Survey 2, which is already also really nice. I think this is a pretty decent filler.
Yeah. We've discussed before in past videos as well that essentially Scry counts for half a draw in the value that you get for it. And since it's the same mechanic, Survey 2 would count essentially as if we would be drawing a card with the value. So that is actually very strong, this card together.
Would this be a little bit more than 1 card though then?
Maybe because you put stuff in the graveyard.
Yeah, like we saw with the jump start, it actually maybe generates a little bit more value.
Yeah. Just super solid. Capture Sphere is next for 3 and a blue. It's a flash aura. And when we enchant creature, we're going to tap that creature, and that creature won't untap during its controller's untap step. So essentially, we're shutting a creature down. It is unconditional removal. They're not using that thing anymore. So that is tier 1. This is beautiful removal. Blue loves this kind of stuff, and so do I actually.
I like this a lot more than the Luminous Bonds, because also it's flash, and also the creature cannot be used as Convoke and stuff like that. So that's, I think, really important.
Yeah, even stronger. Yeah, this is super solid. And at common, huh?
Yeah.
This kind of removal. Beautiful.
Muse Drake. 3 and a blue, a 1/3 Drake with flying, and when he enters the battlefield, draw a card. 4 mana, 1/3 flyer, not really that exciting, but not bad. And you draw a card, and then I'm happy.
Yeah.
Tier 3, good filler.
Yeah, I really like my 1/3 flyers because they block on the ground very well. They can still attack a little bit in the air. They do a lot of different stuff at different stages of the game, and this one just replaced itself. So why wouldn't you play it?
Exactly, and for 4 mana, it's a bit steep for the body, but for drawing a card and everything, I think all in all it's pretty good.
Absolutely. Wishcoin Crab is next for 3 and a blue. It is a 2/5 crab vanilla, so it doesn't have anything else. However, it doesn't need anything else because at 4 mana we're happy with a 2/4, and this actually has 1 extra toughness, which is really nice, and is going to be blocking for days. Don't feel bad including this one on your 4 slot because it's actually a pretty solid creature.
Devious Cover Up, 2 and 2 blue, instant, counter target spell. We already said we didn't like our 3 mana counter spells, and we really don't like our 4 mana counter spells. And if the spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting in its owner's graveyard. You may shuffle up to 4 target cards from your graveyard into your library, which also not really that relevant.
No.
So just put it aside.
And then we come to the last of the common cards, and that is Watcher in the Mist. Very creepy picture for 3 and 2 blue. So for 5 mana, we get a 3/4 flyer. Very nice. Good body with evasion. I'm very happy with this. And when he enters the battlefield, survey 2. So essentially replace itself with a draw, kind of 2 times half a draw. So that is actually super, super solid. The evasion, the body's pretty nice. For just 5 mana, I'm putting this tier 2, always play it in blue. Always.
Yeah. Just solid flyers are always really important limited. A lot of ground creatures will just like get into a stalemate, and then you have those flyers and you can just attack with them with impunity. It's so good.
Absolutely. Really, really great card. Okay, that is it for the commons. Let's have a look at the uncommons.
Our first uncommon is Bound Phantasm. A blue 2/2 spirit with defender. Whenever you survey, put a +1/+1 counter on Bound Phantasm. And as long as Bound Phantasm has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it can attack as though it didn't have defender. Yeah, we don't really like a defender. It's a 1 mana 2/2. You're not really gonna survey, so it's a 2/2 on defense, which really fast will be outpaced. Plus, even if you had a lot of survey, will you get it before you get this? And I think with everything, you're not really gonna do anything.
No.
Just put it aside. Don't even try it.
I agree with that. I mean, think about it. If you put this turn 1 and your opponent has like a couple of turns of having nothing on the board, then you just feel so bad that you can't even attack with this thing. You're just really losing out on that. Selective Snare is up next for X and a blue. It's a sorcery. Return X target creatures of the creature type of your choice to their owner's hand. Now, in an ideal scenario, your opponent's playing tokens. They're all playing the same 1/1 lifelink tokens.
They're playing tribal.
Exactly. So they're playing tribal somehow, and then yes, you can use this. You pay tons of mana, you return all their tokens to their hand, they disappear. Great, awesome. However, we're playing limited, so the chances are they've got a lot of different creatures. You could bounce their bomb, but then it's sorcery speed. You really want these tempo things to be instant speed, so I would say better just save your mana, save your card slot, and pick something else over this. Put it aside.
Yeah. It's really annoying because you choose a creature type, and if it's like instant speed, then maybe they play something which matches that other creature type, and then you can get a lot of value out of it. But on sorcery speed, you're not really gonna do anything.
No.
Nightveil Sprite, 1 and a blue. It's a 1/2 fairy rogue with flying, and when Nightveil Sprite attacks, survey 1. I always say I don't really like my 1-powered flyers, but I think for this one I'll make an exception. For 2 mana and has extra toughness, and every time survey 1, I would be happy with this.
Yeah, just consider this kind of like a Merfolk Looter, which is a creature that I think for 2 mana, 1/1, and every turn you could tap it to draw a card, discard a card. So essentially that's what this thing is doing. It does not really drawing you a card or discarding the card, but it is allowing you to dig through that deck every turn. You're just attacking, you're doing 1 point damage, you're digging. That's exactly what Merfolk Looter, or in a sense, Rummaging Goblin, which does the opposite, which taps and you discard a card first and then you draw a card. So let's get through that deck. Let's get to the really good cards. And whoever's got the most access to the better cards in their deck are probably going to win. So this really helps out.
Exactly. I think these kind of cards are really underrated always. And I always play with these cards with so much success. Every time just looking at more cards in my deck and just seeing what I want to use, I'm really happy with that.
Even for something just like mana fixing, you know, making sure you hit those lands, making sure you hit those right lands, it can already make a big difference.
That's what I really need always.
Stefan always likes to play more colors than he should. Enhanced Surveillance is next for 1 and a blue. It's an enchantment. We're going to look at an additional 2 cards each time you survey, and you can exile this card to shuffle your graveyard into your library. Okay, we're not going to be surveying that much. We're going to survey as much as we can, obviously, because it'd be nice. But yeah, we don't want a separate card slot, especially for this. So we're going to put this card aside. This is one of those typical cards, comes in, doesn't do anything.
Guild Summit, 2 and a blue. It's enchantment. When Guild Summit enters the battlefield, you may tap any number of untapped gates you control. Draw a card for each gate tapped this way. Gates are lands we will see later in the videos. how many gates will you have to use it to begin with? And then whenever a gate enters the battlefield and you control, draw a card. Like I said, you're not really gonna have that many gates most likely. So just put it aside. I don't think this is worth anything.
No, don't play it. Sinister Sabotage is up next for 1 and 2 blue. It's an instant, counter target spell, and survey 1. Now, once again, 3 mana is right on the edge where it could be playable. It's got the double blue, though, which also makes it a little bit more difficult to cast. And do you really want to be keeping the mana open? I can understand scenarios where you would. However, I would say in most builds, in most standard builds that you're going to be going for, I would say put it aside.
Yeah. You just preferably want removal spell that you can use when the creature's already on the battlefield, when you tapped out for your bomb, so to get rid of their bomb, instead of just not playing anything and keeping the mana open.
Exactly, yeah.
Always try to use your mana as efficiently as possible, because that's really important.
That's why mana sinks are so valuable in this game, because you can always still use your excess mana and pump it in there, and you didn't waste your turn.
Exactly. Chemist's Insight. 3 and a blue, instant, draw 2 cards. Instant speed for 4 mana, drawing 2 cards. I like this one. And it has Jumpstart, which means late in the game you can still discard any top deck that you didn't like for more cards. And I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
I really enjoy just throwing my bad stuff out, drawing more cards with it.
Yeah.
Tier 3.
Absolutely. Great filler card. Murmuring Mystic is up next for 3 and a blue, so for 4 mana, it's a 1/5 human wizard. Wow, these butts keep getting bigger, huh? And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, we're going to create a 1/1 blue illusion creature token with flying. Now, I like 1/1 flyers, and I like getting them for free. The body of this guy, you may think is pretty big. The power is just insanely low. You know, for 4 mana, I want a 2/4. That's what I'm looking for at this converted mana cost level. And I just don't think we're going to be playing enough instants of sorceries to be able to create enough birds that I think it's gonna be worth it. So I would say just put this card aside.
Yeah, these kind of cards are really good in constructed, but with limited, we really are trying to focus on our creatures because we're trying to win with combat.
Yeah.
And then these kind of cards just become so much weaker. The last uncommon is City Watch Sphinx. 5 and a blue, it's a 5/4 Sphinx with flying, which is really big. And when he dies, survey 2, which means you can get more value when it dies, if he dies, and that's what the opponent wants. But that doesn't matter because then we still get value out of it. But it shouldn't die because it's so big.
It is really big, and the 5 power in the air means it's gonna end the game extremely fast. They don't answer this in a few turns, they're dead. That's it.
And I think this is really a good tier 1 card.
Yeah.
And it is what I already said in the white video. It only has 1 blue, which is really important because you can easily splash this really good card.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to be solid in blue to even play this card. Amazing. That is it for the uncommons. Let's have a look at the rares. The first of our rares is Narcomoeba for 1 and a blue. So for 2 mana, it's a 1/1 flyer. And whenever this guy is put into the graveyard from your library, you may put it onto the battlefield. So when you survey, you could look at it and go like, oh, I'll put it in my graveyard. Bam, and then it goes into the battlefield. However, it's still just a 1/1 flyer.
Yeah, but the value, though.
No. Don't play this. 1/1 flyers for 2, definitely not. Even for 1, definitely not. And for the odd chance that you cheat it out, I mean,
it's not worth it.
Totally not.
When you draw it, it's not good enough to do anything, and most of the time you will draw it, which means you're not even getting that value out of it.
Terrible.
Drowned Secrets. 1 and a blue, it's enchantment. Whenever you cast a blue spell, target player puts the top 2 cards from their library into their graveyard. It's limited, which means they don't have 60 cards decks, but you're not gonna mill them out anyways.
No.
Just put it aside.
Yeah, there's one argument that we always have to bring up is that people think, yeah, but milling is good because you might mill away their bomb. You know, there might be their bomb might be on top, and I mill them the top card, they might mill their bomb away. The problem is it could also be that their bomb is 1 below that, and you mill the top card, and then you actually get them 1 turn closer to their bomb. That's statistically just as likely. So it means statistically it's irrelevant to mill cards because it's all random anyway.
And that's what's really difficult about milling, because people get really disheartened by seeing their cards getting milled or milling other people's cards and thinking, yes, that's really nice. But the thing is, it's all random, so you can't really think, oh, that's really nice, because then they don't have their bombs anymore. But if they wouldn't draw it, they wouldn't draw it.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
And, of course, the best part of it is when somebody's milling me, I'm actually happy because, as Stefan already said, the graveyard can also be seen as an extension of your hand. So you're actually only helping them in a way.
Especially with this set, because we have Jumpstart and with the Undergrowth, we will look later. It's just...
Don't mill people.
You're helping people.
All right.
Don't do that.
Then we have Mission Briefing for 2 blue. It's an instant. We're going to survey 2. And then survey 2, and then choose an instant or sorcery card in your graveyard, and then cast that card this turn. That card we put into the graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So essentially, we're going to be able to get one more use out of an instant or sorcery in our graveyard, and of course, we do get to survey 2, which is pretty sweet. I think it's going to have a spot, because later on in the game, you will have played your removal spell, so it's going to be in your graveyard, so you can use it. So I would say always play it in blue.
Yeah, I think so. Also because of all the instant sorceries we play, all the cards are removal and combat tricks, which is what we want to cast with this anyways.
Yeah.
So all the instant sorceries we have in our graveyards is what we want to reuse. It's always gonna play this.
Yeah.
But the double blue might make it a bit difficult, especially when we want to play 3 colors. Or maybe 4 colors.
3 colors. I'll play 4 colors. Alright.
Quasi-duplicate. 1 and 2 blue, sorcery, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. This is pretty fun card. Sometimes a bit worse because it depends on what creature you have, so you need to have a decent creature. But even if you don't have the best creature you can copy, you can always jumpstart it later, which is really cool. And I think that's reason enough to always play this.
Yeah. I think if you have a creature that's converted mana costs 3 or more, then it's already worth it to use it the first time and just hold on to that jumpstart till later on in the game when you do get that bomb. So I think you're always going to be in a good position with this card. And the last of the rares is Omni Spell Adept for 4 and a blue. So for 5 mana, it's a 3/4 human wizard. I like this body already. The body's fine for that converted mana cost. So we're okay. We're in business with this guy. And additionally, for 2 and a blue and tapping it, we may cast an instant or sorcery card from our hand without paying its mana cost. Now, we're trying to build a deck around stuff that we can cast reasonably. So it won't be, the discount won't be what's such a big deal about it. I think. Sure, we may have some removal, which is 4 or 5, so we may get 1 or 2 mana discount on it. Of course, we also have to tap it, so we also can't do it the turn it comes in. But what's very interesting, and that Stefan pointed out to me before while we were evaluating these cards, is that we can actually cast a sorcery card as an instant with this creature. And that is actually really solid because notably, usually, the sorcery removal spells are a little bit more powerful because they're not instant speed. A little bit cheaper for what they do. So this actually is pretty sweet because it's going to be cheaper and instant speed for your sorcery removal.
But I think you shouldn't play this card and think, oh, I'm going to use all the instants, all the sorcery speed with this card because you still have to have it. I think this ability is only bonus because the body on its own is already good enough. And I don't think you should bank on using the ability too much. But it's really nice when you're splashing a lot of colors and you're not drawing your color, because then you can still play your instant sorceries with only 1 blue. I'm really happy about that one.
Exactly. Very solid card. Still filler though, because you're not going to be putting in, your deck's not going to be mostly instant sorceries to be able to get the maximum value out of this. But still very, very solid.
And so versatile. It does a lot of things.
Absolutely. All right, those are the rares. Let's move right on to the mythic.
Our blue mythic is Dream Eater. For 4 and 2 blue, for 6 mana, a Nightmare Sphinx, which is a 4/3. Pretty nice, with flash and flying. And when he enters the battlefield, survey 4. And when you do, you may return target non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. It does so much. Flash, really nice. Flying, so nice. Survey 4, and then also bouncing any annoying thing off an opponent. This is the greatest thing ever. I love it. Dream Eater, tier 1. I want to play this. If I can see it, I might want to play blue.
Yeah.
I might want to play any color anyways, but you know.
Just think about your opponents. Your opponent's turn, you left, or you had 6 mana, you pass the turn, your opponent attacks with some of their stuff, and then you go, tap all your 6 mana, you're going to block something which is 2 power or less, so then we're going to kill that thing. We're also going to survey 4, which means we're going to dig for whatever is the next best thing, because this is definitely the best thing you've got, so you're going to dig for the next best thing, and we're also going to return a non-land permanent back to their hand. So they're so far behind at this point that we're going to be kicking butt and taking names.
Yeah, insane.
Absolutely beautiful. All right, that is the Mythic. Let's have a look at the conclusion. In conclusion, uncharacteristically, I think this time my favorite color of the entire set is gonna have to be blue. Very often I have it that it's green or black. This case, and usually I don't really even like blue that much because the creatures are so weak and there's a lot of situational stuff. This time, however, after we've been looking at all the cards, I think blue is one of the most solid colors. Why? Because it has access to, I think, 2 of the most relevant mechanics in this set. It's got Jumpstart and it's got Survey. I think they're both very strong. Stefan already pointed out to us before while we're evaluating that these 2 mechanics also synergize so strongly with each other. You're digging, you're throwing stuff in the graveyard. The Jumpstart allows you to reuse that thing again. So incredibly strong. We've got the flyers, we've got 1/3 creatures, we got everything. We got everything you want. We even have flash enchantment that's unconditional removal. Yeah. You could use blue as such a solid basis, which essentially means that if you're choosing a guild, you can either go Dimir or you can go Izzet. Izzet, those with red, we're going to be looking at that later. I feel that the Izzet route is going to be a lot more random, whether you're going to be able to build something really strong and solid around it. But if you're going to go Dimir with black and blue, I think it's going to be absolutely insane.
I don't really have much to add. You already said it all. I think I'm really looking forward to be playing blue, and I, for this upcoming release, I want to play like both Izzet and Dimir, also because of just the strong blue component. Also because I really like playing instant sorceries and just these colors in general. But still, like you said, we got big flyers, and if you pair it with white, we got so much good creatures in the air, and that is really makes a really strong combination.
Yeah, you could also actually pair it by going Dimir and adding green. So you've got the Undergrowth from the Golgari colors, which also synergizes with the Survey.
We haven't explained it yet.
Sorry, Undergrowth counts the amount of creatures in your graveyard, and you get a bonus according to that. So it could be, it has Undergrowth. Whenever this creature enters the battlefield, it gets +1/+1 counter for each creature in your graveyard, for example. So if you got your blue, your black, your green, you could have the Survey getting the cards into the graveyard, the Undergrowth from the Golgari counting the creatures. You could even have a few Jumpstart cards in there, because you can have them just based on blue. And the green will allow you to also do a little bit of mana fixing to make sure that you got your colors for those 3 colors. So I think that excites me very much to be able to play those 3 colors.
David already has a game plan for his pre-release.
I haven't even opened a pack yet. The deck is built. The deck is built already. Anyway, but we cannot jump to conclusions just yet because we still have a lot of cards to evaluate. So that is it for blue. And actually, still have a lot to do.
Only it for blue.
That is it for blue, but we still got a lot of stuff to discuss right now because, yes, we also have a Patreon page you can check out, and you can help us out by donating as little as $1 a month, which we'd really appreciate you guys to check out at patreon.com/budgetmtgdecks. Also, of course, you can't go without subscribing over here on YouTube for the most powerful decks and advice everyone can afford. And of course, you have to hit the little bell button to be part of the notification squad. And still, we're not done yet, because you also have to join us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, the socials. Let us know what you think. Are we wrong? Are we white? Are we white? Are we right? Are we getting
it's late, okay? It's late.
Are we getting too excited? Well, I'm not white, but you're not white either. Anyway, Are we getting too excited about these cards that we're not even making any sense anymore? Let us know on the socials. Talk to us there. And of course, as always, thank you very much for watching. I'm David.
And I'm Stefan.
This is Budget MTG Decks.